Party Line by Ednar Schoonover. When I was a little girl, my mother and I were in our front yard when we heard the bell of the Brock Church 2 miles west of our house begin to toll. My mother said someone in the community has died. She counted 80 tolls and said it must have been for Mr. Harold. I heard he was quite ill and he was near that age. My dad drove in and tied the horse to the fence and came over to us. He said, "I have talked with most of the people between Smithfield and Cuba about a telephone line, and we are having a meeting this evening to get it. Since we are between the towns, we are having it here." We had a house and yard full of men, women, and children that evening. They formed a company and put my dad, Mart Waftel, in as president. Work was started that once on the line, each family gave some money towards buying wire, brackets, insulators, and posts needed for heights where the line would cross road. Most of the posts we used were cut from the woods in the community, much smaller than the boughten ones. All things needed ordered from the hardware store in Smithfield. When it all was ready to start work, the men came with post hole differs, pole tampers, and set the posts. The brackets were nailed as near to the top of the poles as possible, and tinsulators of green glass, cup-shaped, were screwed on the brackets before the poles were set. When the wire was strung up, it was wired to the insulators. There were 20 telephones on the line, including the Cuba Central and the Dr. D.S. Ray residence in Cuba, the Smith Central Reynolds Bank, and 2 residents in Smithfield. All the rest were in farm homes between the 2 towns. Each person had to furnish their own telephone and pay dues. When it was all finished, we called it our party line. Our first telephone was operated on water batteries. The water had to be rainwater and would evaporate out of the glass jars, so that the water would have to be added once in a while, or the voice wouldn't get out of the line. In a few years, we got a telephone that used dry batteries. It had the name Kellogg on the metal plate on the front of it, had a crank that you'd turn to ring out on the line. This was the opposite side of the receiver fork. When a telephone on the line was ringing, it rang all the bells on all the telephones on the line. This gave us a good chance to eavesdrop, which I think we all did to get the news, especially in the evening when the telephones were all in, and the line was working perfectly. It was a wonderful thing. As president of the party line, my dad was called on to locate the trouble when the line was out of order. He would start out afoot and check the line all the way, and the telephone in each house until the trouble was found. One time, he found it at the house where the wire had been loosened from the house and let fall to the ground during a storm. This wire touching the ground detonated the whole line, but kept the lightning from running in the house as it would do. One time, I saw lightning run through our telephone and drop a ball of fire on the floor under the telephone until it burst into dozens of pieces. The hardest to locate trouble Dad ever had was when the line would be grounded, but come to life without any trouble being found. This had happened over several weeks and caused Dad to walk many miles trying to locate the cause. Dad stopped at a home of an elderly man named Mr. Henry Howarder, and said he took his eyeglass from the top of the telephone. He said to Dad, "I only use my glasses for reading, then I leave them up there where I know they'll be safe from the children that come." The glasses were in a metal frame, and Dad knew instantly he had located the trouble, as Mr. Howarder's glasses laying on the top of the telephone was touching both of the little posts on top of the telephone. One was the post the incoming wire was fastened to, and the other was the ground wire post. The metal frames touching both made a perfect connection. Dad explained it to Mr. Howarder, and our line was in good working order again for a long time. My dad died in 1941, and I moved from the farm to Cuba, where I disconnected our phone from the party line. It was still in good working order after more than 35 years in service. I sold it to an antique dealer for $3. As I was leaving, I walked under the wire leading into the house. I looked up and said to myself, "Goodbye forever, dear party line."